Now we're live.
Now we're live.
All right.
It was close.
A little
That was-
premature, but happy April Fool's Day.
It's not the
Boy,
first
Alan-
time I've been told that. Not the first
Alan
time I've been
does
told
that.
that.
Of course, God knows with the way the news is today, you don't know what's April Fool's and what's really reality. Thank you for joining us tonight. We're going to have a great show. Unfortunately, Hadley cannot be with us tonight. She's still trying to move all those bodies from her backyard to an undisclosed location. So.
Well, she told me. She didn't tell you guys. She lives right by the swamp, so she got the gators and
That's the best way to that and hogs, the best way to get rid of bodies. So tonight we decided we're going to do some old classics. Tonight we're doing Freaks from 1932, one of Todd Browning's movies. We're doing The Wolfman, 1941, a classic Lon Chaney movie. And we're doing probably I think everybody who loves this movie, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. So let's start with The Wolfman.
Oh, you're going to. Okay. We'll start with the Wolfman.
Hi, Chassis.
Hi, Chassis.
Hey, Chassis. Thanks for joining us tonight. This is an odd show for us because some of these are really. Oh, hey, Whitney. It's my daughter, Whitney.
Hey, Whitney.
Hi, Whitney.
The Wolfman was made in, I believe, 1948. And it starred Lon Chaney Jr., Claude Rains, and Bela Lugosi. Now, all these guys were staples. Hey, baby. That's
Tina.
Hey, Tina.
Hi, Tina.
All these guys are staples in the Universal Monster universe.
Tony.
Good evening, Tony.
Hi, Tony.
Good.
Outstanding.
Good. Okay, this was made in 1941. I'm sorry, I said 48. And Lon Chaney Jr. plays Lawrence Talbot, who returns to his home estate it's in England, right?
Wales.
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 Big difference. My boss is from Wales, so I better not say. It's all the same. Anyway, he returns because his brother. I see it. Did you see the Wolfman in theater? Yes, I did. I was 25 when it came out. Apparently his brother's been killed in a hunting accident, so he returns to the home estate, and he gets with his father, who's very wealthy, and apparently they employ a lot of these people in the town below the estate. So this movie, when I was a kid, I loved this movie. Hey, Theodore, thank you for joining us.
Hi.
I thought this movie was great when I was a kid. But it is so cringeworthy right now. Because Lawrence Talbot, he goes up and he gets his dad this gigantic telescope, which he peers upon the town.
Hi, Landa.
Hey, Linda. And he checks out this chick, Gwen Cunlife, that works at the antique store her dad owns. Mm-hmm. And he's peering at her in the upstairs window because they live in the same building they work in. And of course, if this was a 2021 movie, she'd be buck naked in this window frolicking. Well, anyway, she's just standing there messing with her hair, her earrings, looking at herself. And he's checking her out in this telescope. It is so freaking creepy. Then he goes down into the town. Yeah, Tina and I watched this together. Yes, he is creepy. He goes down into the town and starts talking about her earrings in this antique shop that is upstairs in her room. And she's kind of taken aback a little bit, but not enough. So he flirts with her like a 10-year-old boy flirting with a 40-year-old woman. I mean, it's the writers were, I don't know if this was how people actually related back in the 40s. I mean, you see a lot of movies like this, but it's just a cringy. Those two scenes are just cringy. Anyway, she doesn't want to go on a date with him, but she does. Baby, it's cold outside. I got to go. Yes, no, it's like that. So he picks her up, her and her friend, and they go to this fortune teller out in the moors. Stay off the moors. And Bela Lugosi is this fortune teller. And while Lawrence Talbot and Gwen go off to make out, which is, just talking really close back then. Yeah. Her friend, is it Jennifer? Jenny, right. Jenny goes out, gets her fortune read by Bela Lugosi, who I really didn't realize what a bad actor he was. His acting composed of putting his hands over his face, rubbing his head because he's upset. He sees a pentagram in her hand and knows that she's going to be the next victim of the werewolf. So he tells her to leave, and she's like, I'll leave. I'm going now. She's not moving, and finally she moves. runs out. Yes, he plays Bella. Yeah, it's like, let's see. Will you answer to Bella? Yes, I will answer to Bella. So they hear a scream. Lawrence and Gwen hear a scream in the woods and like a wolf sound. And what's that? You know, and this girl's lived in this village all her life. She doesn't know what the sound of a wolf is. Anyway, they run over to what's going on, and Jenny's attacked by this wolf, which looks like a giant German Shepherd, which is actually Lon Chaney Jr.'s real life German Shepherd. And Lon Chaney attacks it. He clubs it with his cane, which has a silver wolf's head on it that he bought at Gwen's store, or antique shop. Anyway, he kills it, and it turns into Bela Lugosi. So he's killed this gypsy. Jennifer's dead because she's ripped apart by this wolf man. And he's bitten. So, of course, he turns into the werewolf. And he is tormented because he knows, and no one really cares that he killed Bela Lugosi.
Yeah, that doesn't really come up.
Yeah, it doesn't really come up. And people actually were more sympathetic than I thought at the time that there's a dead gypsy. You know, I think back then in that country, I think they'd be like, you know. And
sadly, because it was a gypsy.
Yeah, exactly. And he ends up becoming the Wolfman. And he attacks Gwen, and his dad ends up killing him with his own walking cane with the silver wolf head. And that's how it ends. And I love this movie when I was a kid, and it cemented itself in the horror universe of Universal Pictures, you know, and the makeup for the time was really good. I thought it scared the crap out of me. Yeah. His cane was worth a lot. It was only $15 back then, I think. Yeah. And he complained about that. And he was a wealthy landowner, or son of a wealthy landowner. So that's basically the gist of the movie. He doesn't kill anybody. Bela Lugosi does, but he doesn't kill anybody in this whole movie. I never realized that when I was a kid, because I haven't seen this movie.
True.
I didn't think of it either until right now.
Yeah, I haven't seen this movie in probably 50 years. And I didn't realize that. I mean, I saw the remake with Benicio del Toro, which I thought was actually a superior remake. And he kills people in that one. I mean, it eviscerates them. It's horrible. But I love this movie. As cringy as it is. Guys?
Scott, go ahead.
I love it. I love it because of it perpetuates the rest of the movies. He's not. Lon Chaney is really dull in this one. I mean, this movie is carried by Bella, by Claude Rains, and I can't think of the young woman's name, the blonde woman who played his love interest. It's every other movie afterwards where he's so distraught and upset by being the werewolf, and he fights this, you know, that inner torment. He knows he's evil on those days. He can't do anything about it. You know, I think it's in the House of Dracula when he falls in love with the gypsy girl and gives her the gun with the silver bullet to kill. I think those are brilliant parts of the whole Wolfman saga. But yeah, that first one was, if it was remade exactly like that today, it would be extremely boring. I don't think anybody would watch it beyond the first 30 minutes.
No, but as a kid back then in the 2000s, early 2000s,
day before yesterday,
yeah, they were, like you said, they're terrifying, and the makeup still kind of in a way holds up. In a way, if you're looking at it as, you know, a Universal monster, the face makeup's really good. Yeah, his feet were kind of cute though. He had a little, and didn't he lose a toe when he shows?
That was the transformation. Was his feet? Yeah.
So well, I always loved the fact his clothes never tore.
Very strong back then. So Lon Chaney Jr. bitched about that. He complained, like vehemently complained, and I think he wrote memoirs on how awful it was in that first movie for him to change. He was he claimed to be in the chair for 10 hours with them working on him. And I guess the scene when you actually do see his face come through, it only happens at the end, and it's like a 30-second scene or so. It's less than a minute, and it took 10 hours to get him in and an hour to get him out of it. And what he said was that he wasn't allowed to go to the bathroom. The makeup artist would break for lunch and just leave him there. And then I read this, that he said that they actually put little finish nails through the skin on his hands so that he could move his hands. I don't know if that's crap or not, but that's definitely, you can find that on the web.
No wonder he didn't kill anybody.
Yeah, right.
He couldn't
His
move.
hands hurt too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, he really did complain about the amount of time that took to do the makeup. And I thought that was crazy.
But I mean, back then they spent the time.
Yeah.
The only one who never really spent a lot of time in the makeup chair back then was Bela Lugosi as Dracula.
They have color movies now, and not like when you were young.
See, I have a love for these movies because years ago, when I was, I wasn't even 10. My mother had to go to the hospital for an extended stay, and I stayed with my grandparents. And it just so happened that the week I was there, they ran all of these movies late at night. So my grandmother let me stay, and it was summer, so my grandmother stayed up and let me watch them. So that's when I first got introduced to Frankenstein, the Wolfman, the original Dracula.
The Mummy.
Yes.
The Mummy.
I don't know why, but the Mummy is the one that scared me when I was a kid.
That's one of the better ones.
It was good. The other ones didn't freak me out too much, but the Mummy scared me.
Yeah.
And back to the Wolfman. One of the best parts about, for me, the two best parts of this movie were the scenery. Number one, when they have that smoke like rolling across the moors. I mean, they must have done it with dry ice or whatever. I thought that was, for the time, you're talking almost 100 years ago, 80 years ago. And it was amazingly well done for what it was. You got like one tree, and then there's this this rolling fog that comes across the moors. And the other really good part was the old Russian gypsy, the woman.
Yeah,
she was spooky. It's like some of the things you're not necessarily afraid of her, but the way she spoke and what she said, she was just like, yeah, you're gonna turn into a werewolf, and that's just tough. There's nothing you can do about it, dude. You need to kill yourself. Go kill yourself. Silver will do it.
Jack, go kill yourself. Just kill yourself.
She gave a dark aura to that first part of the film.
Yeah, she did.
And this movie laid the groundwork for all the great werewolf movies.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
American Werewolf in London.
The Howling.
The Howling. Even Dog Soldiers, Modern Dog Soldiers. All these movies just, are a vast improvement on The Godfather.
Yeah.
But it's still a fun movie. I mean, cringeworthy as it is, it's great. And John Chaney.
It was.
Yeah. Lon Chaney, he both of them were masters of horror makeup.
There's a movie with Bogart. No, not. Yeah, I think it's Bogart. The Man of 1,000 Faces. It's a biography of Lon Chaney Sr. Very accurate. If you ever get a chance, Tony, to watch it, take a shot of it. Really good.
Now, were they both alcoholics?
I don't know about Lon Chaney Sr. I don't think he was. And I think one of the reasons Lon Chaney Jr. was an alcoholic was because he was trying to follow in his father's footsteps. And, the only really great movie, and by great, I don't mean popular. I mean, people like everybody knows it, is Of Mice and Men. Mm. Other than that, he spent his time in Westerns, movies like this.
He's a perfect Lenny. Definitely. Yeah. Definitely a perfect Lenny.
And I think he is the only actor to do all 4 Universal monsters. Frankenstein, the Wolfman, naturally. He did do a Dracula, and he did do the Mummy.
Oh, and Bela did Dracula, and he played a werewolf. I think people kind of gloss over that, because his part's so small in this.
Yeah.
So, All right. Well, so what would you guys give this one?
So when I was a kid, I would have given this 5 stars. But now it sort of loses its luster when you compare the wolf to the wolves of today.
Mhm.
So I'm going to give it a 3.
Yeah.
I would give it a 3. And a shout out to Ed Mather who joined us. Hey, Ed.
Hi,
Hey,
Ed.
Yeah, I'd give it a 3 as well. I mean, it's like all the classic movies. They're not necessarily good, but we love them.
Right.
I mean, come on,
Right.
let's face it. After Son of Frankenstein, that whole franchise went downhill.
What about Young Frankenstein?
No, I'm talking about the
Frankenstein.
universal ones.
Mhm.
House of Dracula, House of Frankenstein.
Yeah. They were pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So how about let's hit up, well, we're talking about Frankenstein. How about Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein, Rich?
Outstanding. One of my favorite movies when I was a kid. My dad introduced me to this movie when I was very young. I don't know. I'm going to go with 7 or 8. I think it was made in 1948.
Yeah.
And it killed at the movie theater. Everybody went to see it because everybody was in love with Abbott and Costello, but Abbott and Lou
Mhm.
Costello, and to mix in a horror element with those 3 guys, with Boris Karloff, Lon Chaney Jr., and Bela Lugosi, was astounding at the time. They called it an all-star cast, and it was. And Vincent Price is in it too, but way at the end. So this movie starts off with Lon Chaney Jr. as, you don't know it yet, but he's the Wolfman, and he makes a call to Chick and Wilbur, who are Bud Abbott and Lou Costello, and I think they're in Florida, and he's like, whatever happens, there's these 2 crates that came there. Don't take them to McDougal's Wax, House of Horrors, and don't open them. And they're like, yeah, okay. So everybody knows that Abbott and Costello are a pair of screw ups. So what happens is they do take it. Mr. McDougal comes in and he says, I want my stuff. And he's kind of a jerk. And so Abbott and Costello take their these 2 enormous crates to the House of Horrors, and it ends up being Dracula's coffin is one of them, and the other one is the Frankenstein monster. They wake up. Go figure. And they start to terrorize Costello, and he's like, oh, I don't know what's going on. And he's, oh Chick. He's calling his buddy. Wilbur's calling his buddy. And to me, that was one of the funniest scenes of the movie, where he puts a candle on the coffin and the coffin's open and slowly, and the candle sliding. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, Chick.
Oh, Chick. It was funny. Yeah. So from there, it goes. Sandra is Wilbur's girlfriend, and she's actually trying. What she wants is his brain to put in the Frankenstein monster. She works for Dracula. They get caught up in this little web of an insurance scam because McDougal thinks that the 2 morons stole his prize attractions. They get invited to a costume party. Dracula gets himself invited to the costume party, and they all go over to this costume ball, which is at this, I don't know, it's like this island in Florida. Hell breaks loose. You got a Wolfman running around, and of course, Chick has the Bud Abbott has the his mask is at the costume party is a wolf, so go figure. The Mr. McDougal is actually at the party too. He gets attacked by a wolf, but it's actually Lon Chaney Jr. who had met them back at one of the hotels, and he comes over to the party, turns into a werewolf, starts attacking folks, and then it was just him reaching like this and grabbing at Lou Costello, and he couldn't reach him, falls down, whatever. It was kind of funny. They end up going back to the castle. They're gonna cut Wilbur's brain out. I know, right? They got to cut his brain out and put it in the Frankenstein monster, so the monster can be super powerful and really strong. And it ends up they free Costello. They all get away. Happy ending. Get in a boat to try and paddle away. The Frankenstein monster's throwing stuff at them. The Wolfman grabs Dracula as he's going out. They start to fight. The Dracula monster and the Wolfman monster start to battle. the Wolfman grabs the as he turns into a bat, Dracula as he turns to a bat, fall off the cliff and into the ocean. Now, to me, that wouldn't have killed either one of them, but
Right.
No.
hey, story's a story. Frankenstein monster starts throwing stuff at the boat, trying to escape, and of course, the boat's anchored to the dock, and they're paddling and they can't get away. Just dumbasses. Frankenstein monster gets killed as well through fire, and then as they're paddling away, a cigarette just kind of lights itself, and it's the Invisible Man, who's played by Vincent Price.
Yeah.
So it's all in all, it was a really, really good movie. I love this movie. I like the Wolfman. It's dated. It's really dated, and you have to put up with that a little. But once you can get past that, it's definitely worth the watch.
Once you get past the chest high pants, Abbott Costello, hilarious. Their wordplay is great. I mean, it's dated, but I watched. I hadn't seen this in years. I watched it again, and I found myself laughing at parts. It's a fun movie. Yeah, and you have all the you've got a bunch of Universal monsters in it. Yeah, and it's great. Boris Karloff didn't want to do this movie, but he ended up doing Abbott and Costello meet Boris Karloff. Oh, excuse me. So, Abbott didn't want to do this movie, and they ended up having to give him a $50,000 advance and sign on a director that he liked. Was
that Abbott or Costello?
I think it
was Costello.
Was it Costello?
Yeah, because I remember when they gave him the script, he said, oh, "This is crap."
Yeah, that's right.
5-year-old could do that.
Yeah, that's right. It was, and they had to pay him, and they had to an advance, $50,000, I think, which is what $1 million.
The two of them
$1 million now.
The two of them fought through the whole movie. Yeah, the two of their careers were starting to crash, and they were having personal problems, and they were fighting on set, and the director had a problem that he'd go to find Abbott and Costello, and they'd be off playing cards or like reading in their rooms. And yet, I think this is probably the most famous Abbott and Costello movie.
Oh yeah, and it's still funny. You don't see, the stress there really.
No, they definitely, you didn't see it at all, and their dynamic was fantastic. Yeah. And I know Bud Abbott was he had epilepsy, I think.
Yes.
And the other one had congestive heart failure or something like that. Yeah, I can't remember. Yeah. A lot of medical stuff going on. Yeah. And they were super powerful. With that release, February was also 1941 is Buck Privates. Is that what it was? Yeah. And they were killing it, and then all of a sudden, by like the mid to late 1940s, they just hated each other, which was a shame.
And you see that happens with a lot of these, duos. Yeah. It's, I think they just like, people that get tired of each other, people that are together for necessity. And I don't know what happens, but this was the second highest grossing movie for that studio that year.
Yeah. So. And it's funny too, because Universal had gone under, was taken over by International Pictures just a few years before.
Wow.
When Universal was allowed to be taken over, they kept only 4 actors, and 2 of them were Abbott and Costello.
Yeah, they dumped Lon Chaney.
Thanks, Ed. Don't get yelled at.
Take it easy, Ed.
Just blame us. Everybody else does.
Thanks, Mill.
But I love it. It's one of the movies I always laugh at through the whole thing. The opening, like Alan, like you said, the whole opening scene. I think it was, which one of you said it was like with the whole scene when he's reading and the coffin opens.
Rich. Yeah.
I mean, that is hilarious. And the one scene I laughed hysterically at was when Lon Chaney is getting at the party, he's getting very dark and very morose. And he goes, "You don't understand. Tonight, when the moon comes out, I'll turn into a wolf." Costello, you and 50 million other guys.
Yeah. Well, I like his mask. His mask looks nothing like the thing that attacked McDougal. No. It's like, really?
Right.
And would McDougal turn into a werewolf?
Only if
Yes.
he was bitten. If he's clawed, maybe not. I don't
I
know.
thought he was
Because he got hit.
bitten.
He got hit on the neck.
Oh,
And that's
Yeah,
what
yeah.
that's where I thought, when I was a kid, that's what I said to my dad. I was like, wait a minute, Pops. We should have 2 werewolves now.
but the
And he's like,
Wolfman did die. Well, no, that's only that's vampires.
Mm.
And I think one of the reasons this movie was so popular was because we were coming out of World War II.
Yeah, maybe.
I think
Yeah.
people were looking for fun. And they weren't the universe after World War II, let's face it, Frankenstein, the Wolfman, the Mummy, those didn't scare us anymore. Those were just like Saturday morning cut. And that's what Universal did. It just killed them all off by making fun of them.
Right. And like I said, the wordplay between those two guys in all their movies,
It's great.
it's just hilarious. You just pick up on that little stuff, and I loved Abbott and Costello. I haven't seen one of their movies in years. It was refreshing actually to see this movie, and they're short; they're an hour long.
Yeah.
You don't get 2 hours of filler. They get right to it.
Yeah. And apparently, I read that they ad-libbed a lot of their lines in that movie.
Oh, I can see that.
Yeah,
you can see that. But like I say, it gets right to it. Abbott, there's a little bit of disbelief on what's going on, but Abbott, oh, so you are a wolf, you are a werewolf, that was pretty quick for him to, finally after, Costello's been saying, this guy's a monster,
Ash Hall, that is one of my favorite movies of all time. Again, another movie I used to
Them?
watch with my dad. Them, yeah. Oh,
yeah.
fantastic.
Oh yeah, the giant ant movie.
That movie could not be remade better.
No,
I mean,
don't think so.
The special effects on that movie, the actors. I mean, God, you had some of the greatest actors back then. I have not seen much of the Wooden
Soldiers. I haven't either. I might have, but I forgot it. But
I was never a big Laurel and Hardy fan. For me, it was the Marx Brothers, Abbott and Costello, and the Three Stooges, of course, and later the Bowery Boys. I don't know if anybody remembers the Bowery Boys.
Yeah, Hunt's Hall and
Leo Gorcey.
Leo Gorcey. I got at the Marx Brothers, those guys too. We're talking about wordplay. A lot of great wordplay in their movies too. And some of it is, even though it was back 60, 70 years ago, it's still pretty sharp. It's not as dated as you would think, especially Groucho's stuff.
Yes, he does. Yes. Cameo.
Oh wow, man.
So what do we give? Abbott and Costello meets Frankenstein.
Honestly, this one's gonna get a 4.8 from me. I absolutely love this movie, and even though it's dated, which is why you lose the 0.2, that never really hits it too hard. So I think it's just great.
I'll give it a 4 because it wasn't like watching the Wolfman. I'll give it a 4. I enjoyed it. Wolfman, I don't know.
I give it a 5. I love it. No, I've not seen Trigger Dead. Now I have to.
Yep, that goes on the zombie list.
Yeah. It's one of the funniest movies. I laugh like a lunatic. I loved it when it was on Svengoolie a few months ago. I saved it because not only do I get Abbott and Costello, I get Svengoolie. It's the best of their monster movies. Visible Man meets Frankenstein. Meets
Jekyll and
the
Hyde,
those,
the Mummy. Yeah,
those were crap. So we go from lighthearted movies into a movie that is extraordinarily disturbing. And I'm not saying that because, all right, let me say right up front, it's 10:31, so I'm going to keep this. The wording I'm going to use on this movie is the wording that was used in the movie. If it's offensive, I don't mean it to be offensive. This is, to me, probably one of the most disturbing movies ever. There were 2 movies from the 30s that don't technically fall in the horror genre, but I think that the subject matter was way beyond the time. Peter Lorre's M, about the child killer.
Yeah.
And Freaks, 1932, Todd Browning. And the movie was given by MGM to Todd Browning, and they said what they told him and what they told the writer was, we want something horrifying. Dracula was good. We want something that's going to terrify audiences.
It did.
Yeah. The writer for that, and I can't remember who the writer's name was. I know Irving Thalberg was the executive producer, and he's the one said, go out and do it. They based it on a novel from about 10 years earlier, Spurs, which had the same concept but a different ending. And the whole movie is about a sideshow, about a circus sideshow with, as they call them in the movie, freaks. And it's brilliant because your first introduction to them is when this guy is bringing out the sheriff. I think it takes place in Germany or Italy.
I want to say they're head towards Paris, right? So
yeah, it was
maybe
French.
it's France.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
French.
And the local constable and the guy come out because there's trespassers on his land, and he meets them, and it's one of the women who's brought a whole bunch of the freaks there to enjoy the scenery, to enjoy the water. And the guy's like, I'm sorry, I didn't know. He likes them, he's friendly to them. He tells the constable, I'm sorry about this. And throughout the whole part of the movie, you get to see these people as people, not as sideshow attractions. And that's what I love about the movie, is that, and almost every one of them who appears in the movie is actually a current or former sideshow attraction.
Yep.
Most of these people were found at Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey. And they went out, they found them at either like sideshows or these vaudeville shows or Barnum and Bailey, and they brought them. And almost all of those actors, except for one of two of the smaller actors who appeared in Wizard of Oz and other movies, were one time. This was their only movie. And if you watch it on Amazon Prime, go through the cast and read it. The biographies of these actors who are in the movie, some of them are heartbreaking. One who was put in a mental institution for years until somebody found her, brought her out, thought she could do, turned her into a sideshow attraction, but at least gave her a good life. The twins were locked up. They were taken advantage of for years, the Siamese twins, by this woman who the mother, the barmaid, just threw them to the side. She took them, turned them into sideshow attractions, took all the money. When the girls hit 23, they got a lawyer and went their own ways. But through the movie, you develop this sense of community with them. Many scenes in the movie where the circus hands and some of the other circus performers, they interact with them friendly, as if there was no difference between them. And you get to see this camaraderie. You also have, and I cannot think of his name, Hans, who is sort of the head of this part of the sideshow. I don't think he's so much in charge, but everybody looks up to him. And he starts to get a crush on Cleopatra, who is this narcissistic, evil, selfish woman. And she starts to take a liking to him because she can manipulate him, she can fool around, she can tease him. Then she finds out he has a rich inheritance. So she convinces him to marry him.
Oh, hold on, Scott.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe, how you doing? I wanted to, Hans, he's a little person too. I don't think you said that. So
right,
people get the picture. He's like Colonel Tom Thumb. He's a little person.
Yeah, he's
Hey, Joe.
Yeah, he's a little person,
And he was already gonna get married too. He had a fiance.
Yes, he had his fiance, Frida, who she steps back, and I mean he's just taken in by the whole bullshit with this woman. But they all accept her. All the freaks accept her. And there's this really disturbingly heartbreaking scene when they have the wedding. And they're all at the wedding, and there's some of the other performers. There's some of the there's some of the stage hands and the carnies, and they're celebrating, and they're bringing this woman into the fold. And all of a sudden, she gets drunk out of her mind. She starts making out with Bruno, the strong man, who is her behind-the-scenes lover. And then she starts getting mad at them, and because they're all chanting, one of us, you are part of us, we're a family. And she goes off on this drunken apeshit spree. She puts Hans on her shoulder like a little child, and she walks him around and completely humiliates them. And at that point, the whole movie changes. And Hans decides to get her and Bruno back for what they did. I don't want to say what happens. If you haven't seen the movie, I really recommend you watch this. It's just brilliant for the time. The movie itself is very disturbing. I will say one thing. Let's see.
I would want to make. Yeah,
Not
Joe.
me.
Joe's been after me for years.
Yes, I love the fact that the movie humanizes and empathizes with the freak cast. And yes, you got the good-looking blonde, you got the good-looking guy who are really evil, you got the other good-looking woman who's very friendly. But that still doesn't detract from the fact that when they decide to get back, they go to the depths of evil.
Oh, it's horrific.
Yeah. This isn't just, we're going to beat him up in the alley, we're going to make him pee blood. You got to watch the movie to really understand, to really see it.
The scene where she puts Hans on her shoulders and said, "Mommy's going to give you a horsey back ride."
Yeah.
And I mean, that scene, you could just feel, and then, this movie, 80 years old, 90 years old?
Yeah.
You could feel the humiliation. It's just
perfect.
Yeah. You're just like, oh my gosh, this poor guy.
Yeah.
It was heartbreaking, really.
Yeah.
And these people, you see these people and they're real sideshow performers, like you said. Yeah. Some are, only have torsos. There's that Prince Rainier that has no arms or legs that rolls around like a snake. Yeah. I actually patterned a character after him in Dead Island. That's all cuffed up in a zombie. After that, because I'd seen pictures of him before, Snake Man. It is a horrifying movie.
Yeah.
When you look at it, it really is.
It is. It's so horrifying that it was labeled as grotesque by a lot of people, and they sort of shelved it. But before it was even released, the movie was cut down from 90 to 64 minutes. Right. I can't remember the guy's name who cut it back, but he just did it on his own and didn't tell anybody. And a lot of that footage was destroyed. It was just never found. Yeah. And so it was filmed at an MGM sort of set. And one of the things that I read about this movie that I thought was awful was that a lot of the freaks, again, to use that word, a lot of them weren't allowed to be on the set unless they were performing, because they bought the look of them bothered some of the MGM employees. And that really bugged me. That really pissed me off, to the point where I didn't like the movie as much after when I read that. And I understand that there's no correlation there, but it just really bugged me.
And they were banned from the cafeteria. They had to eat in a tent outside.
Yeah.
And, when Maya found out what was going on, he tried to cancel the production. And Theringer just said, no, this is an important movie. We've got to make it. And I read that some of the scenes that you were cut, Rich, was, and I never really thought about it until I read it and then remembered the movie. You never saw what happened to Bruno.
No.
They castrated him.
They castrate Bruno, and that's one of the scenes. And apparently, they really lengthen the chase scene with Cleopatra.
Huh.
But
Through
they
the
also,
forest?
but they also cut out other scenes. Like apparently there was a much longer opening scene when the constable and the landowner meet them. And it was really, they say it was a very lovely scene. It was very humanizing. They cut that down.
I bet that's why they cut it out, was they wanted this movie to be disturbing, and then they realized it was too disturbing, so they cut more out. I bet that's what it was.
Yeah.
And this is one of those movies I've always wanted to see. I've always seen it around and talked about it. And it's like one of the top 100 movies you have to see, or a lot of lists and stuff like that. And it's just, you feel, I don't know, it just makes you feel. And then the backstory of it, you know, you read about it and you're just like, holy crap. Now, the uncut version of this was shown at the premiere, and that was a box office hit.
Yeah.
Now, this movie cost
in the 60s, like 60.
No, when it came out.
When they had already sent the movie out to certain areas. And then Myers and them looked at it. They looked at the screening and they're like, holy, we can't put this thing out. And they called them all back, and only one cinema. Now, I don't know if the cinema refused or if they couldn't get it, but the cinema played the full version. It was only shown for, I think, 1 or 2 days. Right. And people like flocked to see this movie. There was a 3,000 seat cinema. They had to put in extra showings. And then when they found out the movie was going to be yanked and edited, everybody tried to get to see it as much as they could. I wish two things I want them to find all the missing footage from this movie. 3 things: the missing footage from this movie, London After Midnight, and the spider pit from King Kong.
I've heard of Santa Sangre. I can't
check that out.
Sangre. Thank you. Yeah, I've got to check that out. It was made for like $300,000, which back then was like it's like $1 billion right now, and it made like $3,000. So I'm sure it's made more over the years now, and who knows what the rights process are of that movie. But crazy. It is, like you said, it is a disturbing movie. It does have a good ending though. It does
have a good ending
for some.
Yeah, right.
But again, I do, and I am not saying anything bad or evil about the freaks. They did what they could do. They got revenge. And they got the revenge the way they felt they should get revenge. And I agree with the way they got revenge, but damn, dude, you were like,
I know, right?
Okay, castrate Bruno and let him go, but come on.
But they were poisoning Hans though too.
Yeah, that's true.
Trying to kill him.
They were trying to kill Hans. So I mean, I think they got their comeuppance.
No, they did.
But back then, I'm sure it would have been more like, oh my gosh, nowadays you see, you have I Spit on Your Grave or the Last House on the Left, so it's kind of like, I think it doles it down for us. But if you look at it through, the eyes back then, definitely.
And I think one of the things I liked about the movie was that Downing took the risk of showing that these people are just like us. They have the same, they smile, they're happy, they have love interests. Right. Like the Siamese twins. I love my favorite line of the movie was when the first husband says to the second husband, "Oh, you'll have to come over for dinner sometime." I read somewhere where one of the reasons that, because a lot of the other sideshow actors only had brief appearances, and some of them didn't even have lines, like Cuckoo the chicken lady who was doing the dance at the summer. Yeah. But the reason they concentrated on her was this was 1932, and they were talking about eugenics. Mm-hmm. That was a popular issue. Oh, if you're not perfect, you shouldn't breed. And they were showing that, she's just like the rest of us.
Yeah. And I like Ferroso's character, the clown, and Venus.
I like their clown.
I like their characters, and he was real humane. I liked how he was with the other sideshow people. You know, he was really, especially to the
It was very caring.
very
Yeah.
caring.
Yeah.
You know, and he was with Tisa. I'm gonna use this because the Pinhead ladies. You know,
Yeah.
he was really nice to them. You know, and Venus saw that side of him. You know, and you could tell that she really liked that. You know, of him. And at the end, you know, those two characters. You know.
Yeah.
But it's a good flick, and I'm glad you picked it, Scott, because I always wanted to see it, and I just never pushed myself to watch it.
It's just, I loved it. I've seen it 2 or 3 times. I think it is a brilliant movie. I think it was extremely daring. You'd never get that made today.
No.
If somebody tried to do that today, Hollywood would scream and have
Explode, right?
I mean, it even killed oh God, what the director's
Todd
name?
Browning.
Browning. Yeah.
It killed his career.
Yes.
After that, they kept him on an extraordinarily tight leash.
The guy that made Dracula.
The guy that made Dracula and made one of the most highly rated movies today, kept him on a short leash after that.
Well, they shelved the film. After it did initially well, it was called, you know, grotesque and disturbing and all that. They shelved it for 30 years, and then it came back. It was either the Cannes Film Festival or the Venice Film Festival or something like that, and it just got really, really popular after that. And people, like earlier on, like in the 60s, they thought that this film was, like you said, Scott, it was about eugenics and not about eugenics, but it perpetrated eugenics and that we should get rid of this type of, they shouldn't be allowed to breed and that kind of thing. And then in the 90s, it had another sort of resurfacing, and people understood what we've been talking about right now, that this wasn't a film about, you know, hating freaks and portraying them in a negative light. This was a film about, you know, trying to understand what these people go through on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And how just they're just people, and they can be wonderful or not wonderful depending on, you know, on how they're treated.
But we're all like that. You're nice to us, we're friendly, you know. You piss us off.
You're buried in the hill. Right.
Well, you know, I like that opening scene, like you were talking about, where the guy comes over to the landowner. Hey, we got these freaks on our property. They're running around. Things running in the woods, scary. You know, blah blah blah. And the landowner goes over there and he sees, you know, the circus lady with, you know, there's like 6 or 7 of the, you know, circus performers running around. You know, and he's like, oh, you know, and she's like, these are my children, and he was really nice about it. You know, he could relate. And she said, come out to the show and see us. You know, he's like, So I like that part.
Yeah. And you know, like you guys were saying, it was hot, that people hated it in Los Angeles, New York. It was really popular in smaller cities like Cincinnati, Boston. You know, most of the reviews of it called it disgusting. They hated it. Only a few reviews liked it, but
they focused on the sideshow people. That's what it was.
They
it wasn't
focused on it. And I don't know. One of the things I find, I mean, not only the fact that all the major actors and that at MGM are like, oh, we don't want to have dinner with those people.
Yeah.
Was most of these people came from sideshows. Anyways, you know, they was like, oh, would you like to do this movie about what you're doing all the time? And it never really caught on to people that this is what was going on in the 1930s, you know, even as in such a modern time, you know, we were taking advantage of the pinheads. They had nothing else to do. Let's do that. The dancing chicken, the cuckoo lady. This was all they had to do. And I think that was another aspect that Browning was trying to do, was just show this is what's going on behind the scenes. You know, you people go to these vaudeville shows to see it.
Well, this is a movie you can watch nowadays, and you're not like, you know, it impacts you.
He was, Mark. He was.
Yeah, Fritz Lang. Oh yeah. But
did Fritz Lang do M?
Yes, he did.
He did. Yeah.
He did.
Yeah. If you haven't seen that, I watched that one and it was like, wow.
I saw that as a kid. It freaked me out.
It was
That's a hard movie to get through.
It is very high. I mean, today it would be like PG-13, but back then it was like, whew.
Today that would kill an actor's career today. That movie.
Yeah.
Someone playing a child killer like Peter Lorre did.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So what do you guys give this movie?
I'm going to give it a 5. I think it was well done. I would love to see the entire version unedited. I think it's far superior. I think it would be far superior. I'm giving it a 5 for the movie. I'm giving it a 5 for the direction, the acting, for the balls these guys had to actually produce something like this. And just for the fact that, I think it's one of those movies that a couple of 100 years from now, people are going to look back and say, that had a lot of social value to it.
Rich?
I think it needs a 4. I think the movie itself was okay. I didn't think it was the best movie in the world, but I think what it did was bring to light a lot of things that people just don't think about a lot of times. And with these people and their disabilities, and the fact that they're just people, they're like us, and they can do extraordinary things, and they can do horrible things too. Yeah. I think that's what really got me about this film. And I love the fact that, back when it came out in the 30s, it was grotesque. And then it came out, there was another resurgence in the 60s, and then another resurgence in the 90s. And in the 90s, they just turned this film into a cultural icon.
Yeah.
It, like the one of us, that you see that everywhere now. And that was the first time it was around. So I got to give it a solid, I'll give it a solid 4.
I'll give it a 4 as well. It's one movie. It's a movie you can watch nowadays, and it's dated parts of it, especially the acting in it. It's got that acting of talking fast or yelling, and the relationships are like, wow, really? That wouldn't fly today. But you're looking at it through today's eyes. But I'd give it a 4. This movie's been on a lot of horror people's list forever. When you look at a lot of these directors, these writers of horror, they always say Freaks is one of their favorite movies, and I see why. So
I wouldn't even call it a horror movie until the last 5 minutes.
Well, that's it. Yeah. Exactly.
The last 5 minutes of that movie are just utterly, holy crap, terrifying.
It's a horrific act.
Yes, definitely. It is. It's awful. But before that, it's not really a mystery. It's sort of a let's have the characters find out what Cleopatra's trying to do to Hans, and
it's like a melodrama.
Even after what happens, Hans goes into isolation because he's so humiliated and disgusted about what happened to him. Humiliated by what happened to him, disgusted by what he did.
Right.
A little trivia fact: did you know that his fiance in the movie, Frida, I think, they were brother and sister?
That's why they didn't have the any real intimate scenes.
Exactly.
It's too. Now that would have been horrific. Yeah. That'd been a different movie.
Yeah. So
we recommend this movie. I recommend all 3 of these movies.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a fan of the 1930s and 40s horror movies, Frankenstein, Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein, The Wolfman. One thing I never understood until I got older was, how could Frankenstein going on your shoulders kill you?
He's so strong. He's so strong. He's a strong man.
But it really, and when you look at the movies like Freaks, Frankenstein, throwing the little girl in the water, all of this was before the Hays Code came out.
Right.
And then the censorship stuff.
Yep, pre-code.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the innuendos are there, definitely.
Yep.
It would have been pretty cool to Deliverance. Here's the thing about the Wolfman, is he's supposed to eviscerate people, tear apart, rip them, eat parts of them, whatever. All you ever seen in the old ones is he strangles people. I mean, they talk about her being...
Yeah.
So they're stranglers. The Wolfman is a serial strangler.
Yeah.
So was the Mummy. So was Frankenstein.
Yeah. Well, that always broke me up. He's plodding along slowly, and the woman's running, and he catches her.
Yeah.
Either that or the typical, oh, I'm a woman in high heels. I'm going to trip and fall and sit there and scream until the monster comes and catches up with me.
Oh, they still do that today.
See,
Yeah,
that was
Here-
the one thing I hated about movies from the 30s to the 50s. The women, all they did was scream.
Yeah.
You know, God bless Sigourney Weaver as Ripley.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, I found a way. Here's how you defeat Universal monsters: is you just wear a big, thick neck brace,
Yep.
right? None of them can kill you.
You're not choking me, pal.
I mean, even the creature from the Black Lagoon, he was a
Yeah.
strangler.
Yeah.
It was.
So, and it takes a while to strangle somebody. So, I mean, especially as slow as the mummy moves. But God love them. God love the Universal monsters.
Oh God, I love them. I've got all of them. I got the collections on DVD when they came out, and I watch them all the time. Those are my favorite.
I haven't
they're
seen
always-
the Creature from the Black Lagoon in years.
Yeah,
I gotta
oh.
watch that again. It was
They're
one
talking-
of my favorites.
They're talking about remaking it.
I know.
I really
know.
hope they don't.
I hope they don't either. You know, all the whole.
Butcher.
Yeah, they're all stranglers. Dracula. The bad sequel. Yes, the bad sequel.
Yeah.
Oh
That-
my!
That was a messed up movie.
That
No.
was a messed up movie. Every time I hear the bad scene, all I can think of is, what would you give me for a basket full of hugs? A basket full of kisses.
I remember seeing that movie.
Fucking matches. The matches. Remember them? Oh,
Yeah, that's true. But
So, thank you all for joining us tonight. I don't know the movies. Next week, we're doing big monsters from the 1950s. So, if you like the kaiju, if you like big bugs, if you like behemoths coming out of the ocean, giant alien monsters, you gotta tune in next week.
I could see my wife is getting excited now at the thought of having to sit through these movies with me now next week.
Oh, come on. How could she not love the giant? And we won't pick classics like The Giant Claw.
well, was it Ashhole that wanted them?
Probably.
Oh yeah, I can see. Yeah, she's excited already. You lucky gal, you. Giant monsters next week. Giant.
Oh, there's so many good ones we're gonna choose from.
Yeah, I'll have to look and see.
So before we wind up, what's going on, Rich? You got some good news.
Yeah. So I posted on Facebook today that coming soon, my newest book would be released, and come to find out, my friend Jamie told me that she bought it today. I didn't even know it was out yet. So yay me.
Good job.
I was gonna push that this coming week, but I guess we can push it now. You can find it on Amazon. I don't think you can get the paperback yet, but it should only be a couple of days, and hopefully we'll have Audible within a few months. So yeah, go buy my book and give me money.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice. Buy my book. We've been waiting for this one to come out too. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
I got to get caught up on yours. I read Run. Red Run
Run.
One.
You got
Say
this.
it 10 times.
Red run.
Love the book, and I got to just jump in and read the other one.
Good. I appreciate that. Thank you.
spoiler alert, Scott, they're zombie books.
Yeah, I know. Alan, I just finished Dead Island. You are sick.
Yeah, he's a twisted guy.
Which one? Which one did you finish?
Dead Island.
The
Prequel.
The prequel. Oh,
The prequel.
the one in Mexico.
Oh my God. I mean, you had 4 effed up characters.
Just
I
four.
mean, and the political intrigue on. I'm reading the book, and it's like, okay, this is a good book. And then when the birthday party starts, I read that whole book in like 24 hours. It was like
wow.
I'd wake up
Thank
early
you.
in the morning to read. I'd had to take my daughter to a doctor's appointment. I read it in the car.
Oh,
Did
well,
you
thank
find any Zima?
Yes, but yeah. You know, Scott, I reread that one when I was writing it about 10 times, and I hated it when I was done, and I hated it. And I reread it, but I hate it. What's with the goat love?
Goat love.
Hey, he was a Peter supporter.
Yeah. Oh, it's high praise coming from you, Scott. Thank you.
I'm sitting there thinking to myself, he's got to kill these 4 people. I'm not going to tell you who. You got to read it. You got to have a good way to kill these people. But Gloria,
And you know what? I've got a good mom. I don't have mom issues
No,
like that.
no.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay.
I really do. I really, when you guys read and you guys enjoy them, it makes me happy.
They're all
I'm
right
thrilled.
there behind me.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled, you
Pretty
guys.
sure, yeah.
Well, you know what better, your peers, reading your books and enjoying them is
Yeah.
what better love is that?
So
I love your guys' books.
Ravenous,
Scott, your
Zoo,
review should be on Amazon.
Zombie Island.
For Operation Majestic.
Yes,
Yeah.
Operation. Yeah, I love that book. That
Thank
is,
you.
I love to see it as
It's a good
movie.
story.
Thank you.
It would make a
It's-
good story.
it would.
make
I
a
would
good
love
book.
to see that made into a movie, but
It's a lot of fun. Indiana Jones mindset,
Yeah.
time travel and aliens and
yeah.
actually historical characters thrown in.
Oh yeah. Hey,
Awesome.
I figured out what happened to Hans Kammler and the Vril Diamond, so
Oh, there you go.
maybe I know. Maybe I know something that I put in the book and the government didn't want me to.
Maybe
Alan,
you are.
did you read Frozen World?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I like Frozen
Yeah.
World. That was
Yeah, me
really
too.
Good.
That was really
Oh,
good.
thank-
That was
Another one of
really
Mr.
good.
Baker's books.
Yeah,
Outstanding.
Scott, what I love about you is your multi-genre, man. And it's really, you're not stuck in one genre, and I love
No.
that.
Thank you. Well, I am going to go back and spend some time working on just the 3 series for a while. Nurse Alyssa 8 will be coming out April 15th. I'm going to do the next Tatiana book. It's going to be aboard a haunted cruise ship. And then I want to go back and do the next book on the Chronicles of Paul. I love the Chronicles of Paul. Whereas I keep Nurse Alyssa more realistic, Chronicles of Paul is just so like, no, let's go Dead Rising on this.
There you go. I love your guys' book. I read Rodder's years ago, and I didn't know I didn't know I would be
Yes,
you
Linda.
guys are
Thank
only
you.
love. Yes,
Mutual
I didn't know.
Admiration Society.
That's it right now. Good thing we're not together.
We have to make sure the video was off.
Yeah, there you
Well,
go.
thank you, Tony.
Yates no film.
I never thought I'd be working with the guy that wrote that.
Oh,
That's cool.
thank you.
And I'm lucky to work with Rich here.
Yeah.
I love your books. So
Yeah, Rich, you like I said, I read Run, and now I'm gonna jump in and read. I'm dying to read Run 2 and Run 3.
you get the
And the new
runs.
one.
You're gonna get the runs.
Gonna get the runs.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all. Be careful tomorrow because everybody's gonna pull practical
Oh,
jokes. My family is just all like they're gonna lock themselves in the room for 24 hours. And Rich, Alan, it was great talking to you guys
You
tonight.
too.
I love our Thursday get-togethers. For everyone else, one more. Thank you,
Linda.
Londa. It is
Thank you,
our
Linda.
pleasure. Thank
And-
you all for joining.
Yes, thanks for showing up.
And Joe, maybe you should take a shower and you wouldn't get that old man sweat and BO around.
So, for all of us here, good night. Thanks for showing up.
Thank you.
Hit subscribe, hit like, and we'll see you next week.
Right
Ciao,
on.
everyone.
Take care, everybody.
Good night.
Be safe.
Good night.